Welcome to We Live It, the Live Ag Podcast, your source for livestock market insights, management strategies, and real conversations with those who don't just work in the cattle industry, they live it. Here are your hosts, deCordova and Casey Mabry.
Welcome. Once again, we are live on the Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers Convention's floor at the trade show here. I'm very, very fortunate here to have Carl Ray Polk, which is the president, Stephen Diebel's first vice president, and Dan Gattis, second vice president, to join us today on the We Live It podcast. Thanks everybody out there and all the social media platforms for joining us. Like we've said before with me and Casey couldn't be here today. He and his youngest daughter are out showing hogs. So, well, like I said, we named it We Live It because we truly do live the industry and what we do in the industry. So we want this to be very informative. Got these guys here today just to talk about what they're doing for the industry, what they do for the livestock industry, the agriculture industry. And this is such a great organization throughout the state of Texas. And these men have dedicated their life to this organization. And I'm just going to kind of want to talk a little bit about that. First of all, it all goes back to relationships. Known Carl Ray Polk for a while from the sale barn and from over in East Texas. Stephen Diebel's, him and my daughter, his family, his kids and my daughter show cattle together. My daughters show cattle together with them. Dan, I met him at Texas Beef Council years ago and just kind of know him through that. So it's all a relationship business. It goes back to all of us being in the industry. So guys, if you kind of want to start, Carl, I know y'all say Dan kind of tries to talk a lot, so let's start with you and let's end with Dan.
Thanks a lot, Ty. Thanks. Just throw it out of there right in the beginning. Just start throwing spears right there.
Kind of tell about yourself, Carl, and kind of what you do here and what your goal is, the mission is for the cattle raisers.
Well, Todd, thanks for having us, and Live Ag is taking off like this.
Yes, sir.
It's fun to watch. Carl Ray Polk, I am from Lufkin over in your neck of the woods, East Texas, serving as president. This association, Ty, and Dan and I joke back and forth all the time in his time in the legislature, but we're an advocacy-driven group for this industry. We're humble, and I think in that humility, we don't share our story enough. We're challenged every day in both the Texas House and Senate, as well as in Washington. And if you drew one thing to me about what this organization adds from a value standpoint, is we're advocating every day for what's right in rural America, rural Texas, but equally so to the industry that we love and serve.
You know, first and foremost, if we'll keep God first in everything we do, and then that transfers into our values and how we live our life. But if you keep God first and live your life that way with the values, this is what we're doing here in this industry. So, Stephen, kind of tell a little bit about yourself, how you kind of got involved and where you're from and all that.
Sure. My name is Stephen Diebel. We're our family ranches in Victoria, down on the Gulf Coast, have for many generations now. So I've been honored to be a part of this association for quite some time now. This is a very relationship-driven industry. We all know that. We all appreciate that, and I think it's just an honor. And we appreciate y'all being a part of our trade show. I think it's been a great weekend. So thank you.
Dan, you got any words of wisdom?
No, Todd. I think what I'd add is one of the things that impresses me most about this whole organization is its diversity across the board. Not only from a geographical instance, Carl Ray being from East Texas, and you got Stephen down in South Texas, me more in the Central Texas area, but also kind of how we came to be part of this organization, how we got involved in this organization, what our different operations look like. You look at Carl Ray, and they run a really, really good operation, and at larger than most operations that would be typical of the overall membership. Stephen is a day in, day out cowman. Yes. I mean, all day, every day. I'm probably more what you would call the hobby rancher side of the deal. We don't have a large operation. We're there in Central Texas, and I've lost all my lease places just because of growth. And so we're squeezed down to, just to a home place of a little under 500 acres. And so operationally, that doesn't allow us to be what would most people think of as large ranchers, or what most people would think of as members of Texas Southwest Cattle Raisers.
That's right.
And I think that's what I want to stress is that, most of our members are 50 cows or less. I kind of represent that kind of portion of our constituency within the organization. And I also didn't come to this organization and rise in leadership through a legacy type of scenario either. If you want to be part of this organization and you want to matter, show up.
Yep.
Show up and work.
Yep.
Yeah, you said something earlier about the 50 head guys, and when I was part of the sale barn, and my brother now owns and operates himself, I think our average head for a customer was like 4 or 7. I mean, and that's the kind of people that y'all want to hear from. That's the membership base you want to. Yes, you want the bigger guys, but we need those other guys that want to conserve that Western way of life, if you so say.
Absolutely.
That let's keep that culture. Let's raise our kids that way. Let's have a farm to go to take our kids and our grandkids, and we got to keep some. We got to advocate to keep some of that around, or we're going to lose it all.
What I love is
the
fact that the larger operations that are part of our organization understand that, and their investment into this organization is not only to protect themselves, but also to give voice to the smaller operator that would not have that voice otherwise.
Yep.
And we all operate together. We're all a part of that same system, and I love this organization, and obviously we all dedicate so much time to it for that very reason.
Look, I have to add this. I'm never shy away from a microphone. Dan brings something up. 68% of our membership have less than 50 head of cattle. We have 28,000 members, so do the math on that. And you bet, we've got the Pitchfork, we've got the King, we've got the Sixes, we've got the Armstrong. But 68% of the folks in this organization that drive this organization have less than 50 head of cattle.
That's pretty amazing to know that they have a voice and that we get to give them that voice. So with an organization like this, they get to have that voice. And they rely on you guys to voice it for them and to make the right decisions and do the right things. And that's what's so awesome about this group of guys, that we know we can trust y'all to make those decisions.
I think, too,
go ahead, Steve.
One thing I'd like to add is I think we all bring different skill sets to the table. And I think that's what, makes it, number one, our leadership team at our organization that much more effective is we all have skill sets. And I think that's something that we bring our skill set to the table to make the organization better and the industry better. So
we can tie that back. And y'all, more and more y'all get to know me, y'all know I'm pretty vocal about trusting God to what we do. God's given us all the ability, and He's given us a platform to do it on, and we have to step out on the faith of Him to do that, and that's what you guys are doing. I mean, you're using your God-given talents and the platform, TSCRA, He's given you to go do it, and that's awesome to see. I mean, I get excited about it.
Our Secretary, Brooke Rollins, this morning, came here and she hit it right on the head.
I got the chills. I got chills when she started talking about it.
And that's exactly what she pointed out. We are here for a reason. God's placed us in this moment for a reason, and we're supposed to do those type of things. Going back to talking about our small members, our small members are the ones most likely to be impacted by the things we're down fighting for in Austin. You talk about eminent domain, you talk about, orphaned wells, you talk about all of those types of things that are impact rural Texas. Those are our smaller landowners. The larger places are going to have the resources to protect themselves. What we do in Austin and in Washington, D.C. goes more to protect those small landowners than it does to the large ones. It does it equally, but this organization gives them that voice.
And I think, and I'm stepping into Dan's now, but, Texas on a daily basis loses 900 to 1,000 acres. Matty Parker was here, the mayor of Fort Worth, yesterday. Tarrant County alone loses 50 acres a day to development. This guy on the end down here, one of the fastest growing counties in Texas, I went and picked him up the other day at his house, and it's just one subdivision after another subdivision, and then you get to Dan's place. My point in that is, Dan nailed it. We're advocating for that small rural landowner because they may or may not have the wherewithal to do that on their own.
And I think it's so important to understand yes, that rural fragmentation is becoming so very apparent. And what the rural lifestyle and the landscapes and the resources that we manage from a rural perspective, it's beneficial to everyone. And I think without that, number one, we lose food security. And I just think it's important to understand the value of that rural component that we manage and that we advocate for. So.
And she said it best this morning. If we lose food security, we lose national security. And she's spot on. If we can't provide for ourselves, I mean, what about an awesome speech she gave?
Fantastic.
And just to see her interact with the kids after the fact and get right in there with the FFA president and vice president and then the 4-H council and stuff, and just to see that interaction with her,
we're
pretty
very,
awesome.
very blessed to have someone like that's so approachable, that's so engaged, and she truly understands this lifestyle and the value that it brings. So we're very, very fortunate to have her here.
And we're blessed that she's an Aggie.
It sure does.
Exactly right. Next question, moving right along. How's the weather?
We took a picture, by the way.
I've seen it. I got it. I didn't
Thumbs
get a
up.
copy of it.
It'll be fine, Carl. It'll be fine,
shall
Carl Ray.
pass.
Carl Ray likes maroon. He wears maroon ties a lot, too.
I love that tie. Pretty.
Yeah.
Anything else y'all want to touch on, guys? I mean, this is kind of an open forum. I want y'all to touch on what y'all want to tell everybody out there that's watching about what we do.
Ty, let me. I'm going to interrupt to say one thing, Ty.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, I know. Ty, one of the things you talked about, you talk about God, you talk about all the things, and the things that we find down in Austin. We have to understand a lot of times that what is the intent behind some of the things that we're having to fight. And fake meat bill is a great example of that. We were down, Carl Ray and I spent all day in Austin down testifying, and to be honest, to a pretty hostile House committee that was really against what we're for. And what we tried to explain to them, and Carl Ray did a great job at it, as well. When you look at the fake meat companies that are out there, they're not trying to sell better nutrition because they can't prove that. They're not selling things that are better for the environment because they can't prove that. Even though they'll say it, that's been disproven. They can't say that it's safer product that's not there. Well, why? What's the purpose behind it? Well, you start looking at the money that's behind it and the investors behind it. Pure and simple, it's everybody that wants to eliminate animal agriculture. It's all your animal rights. It's all of those types that are behind that whole movement. We have to fight that day in and day out. We're never not going to be able to, have to be able to show up and fight it because they're going to consistently come after us. But that's what this association and these organizations do.
And I'm just going to add this. You're from Buffalo, Texas. You know this.
Rose back, but close.
Well, on the outskirts of Buffalo, right. One of the proudest things that we carry out into our membership is the advocacy portion that we represent. All of us represent. But whether you're in Anderson County, Houston County, or Williamson County, we have a voice for agriculture. If we have a fault, Ty, it's that we don't talk about it enough.
Exactly.
Sure. And whether you're talking about your Christian values or this industry, we do not promote it enough.
Amen.
And I would say to anyone that tunes into Live Ag, the foundation's there to continue to promote this industry, but you got to set your humility aside, not in a boastful, not in an arrogant way, but we have to educate those that are not in this space.
I want to use that as a segue for both of these gentlemen because last night, we've talked about advocacy, but something you've mentioned and everybody's mentioned here is talking about the next generation. Last night we had I don't know if we'll be able to get through this one, but last night we had a dinner to honor of one of the greatest men that's ever been part of our organization, and that's Gilly Riojas, who we lost unexpectedly and obviously untimely. And Gilly was a great friend to each of us up here, a dear friend to each of us up here. And Gilly's passion was the next generation. And that leadership development foundation that he championed every day, we've dedicated our internship program under his name. But I'd like for these two gentlemen to talk a little bit about what we're doing, with TSCRA to bring the next generation on and talk about a little bit what I would call the non-traditional function. Look,
right. Right.
We weren't all born into this. We didn't all win the lottery to be able to run an operation. There's different avenues. If you want to be part of this industry, you can be. You don't have to be born into it, marry into it, win the lottery. There's ways you can be involved. Gilly was an example of that, but I'd like for them to kind of run with that.
Well, I think TSCRA, we've given a really high priority to developing the next generation of leaders. We do that through a multitude of ways. We have internship programs. We've got a working grant program, and I think that's something that we've really focused on. I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, 1,000 individuals coming through this trade show. 1,000 out of about 4,000 were under 40 years of age. So I think the opportunities are there, and we want to be a platform and a conduit to help them understand number one about the industry and how to be plugged in, but also give them opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So youth development and leadership is really important to all of us. So
can I tail end on that?
You can, bud.
So Dan hit the nail on the head. We know that this is a graying industry. And my kids were fortunate enough, just like yours, to come up through 4-H and FFA. I was a 4-H kid. I had that opportunity. Gilly Riojas walked out of Texas A&M University and had never stepped foot on a cattle operation in his life. And goes to TCU Ranch Management, works for the East, works for the King, works for Lababia. And he recognized the critical component of that opportunity for a first-generation rancher or a first-generation farmer. And I'm going to have to stop there by saying we have the toolbox for anybody interested in this industry. We got it through our working grant program, through leadership development, through mentoring, internship. All you got to do is show up. Go back to what Dan, all you got to do is show up.
Show up and work.
True.
That's all.
Dan shows up.
Oh, well.
Dan shows up.
Hey, where's that bell at, Stephen?
I'm telling you, I think I'm going to initiate that because sometimes I need the bell between these two, for sure.
That's been said quite a bit.
Yeah. Guys, anything else y'all want to touch on before we kind of wrap it up here? I can't thank y'all enough for giving Live Ag and We Live It an opportunity to be here with y'all and to be a small part of what y'all are doing. It just gives me chills just to think of all the success that y'all have had this week and going forward, and like you said, with the intern programs and the Gilly Rojas stuff, and listen to Ms. Rollins speak this morning, and man, this has been awesome.
We're very passionate about what we do. Yep. We appreciate all the vendors here, especially Live Ag, the opportunity to come share our message and share our story. So we appreciate y'all very much.
Todd, thank you for what you're doing here, because what Carl Ray so elegantly talked about is that we don't spread our message enough. That's what you're doing, just spreading our message, and we thank you. Appreciate what you're doing for us.
I hate it when he steals my thunder.
Yeah.
Don't stop this. All right, whether it's through your Live Ag podcast, whether it's through your auction services, we have to talk about what we're doing. And sometimes we don't do that often enough. But thank you for what y'all do.
Well, gentlemen, can't thank y'all enough. Podcast world, I guess is what you call it. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for the support. Thank y'all for the subscribes. We can't thank y'all enough for tuning in, because that's what keeps us going and allows us to continue this platform of We Live It. So thank y'all very much. God bless.
Welcome to We Live It, the Live Ag Podcast, your source for livestock market insights, management strategies, and real conversations with those who don't just work in the cattle industry, they live it. Here are your hosts, deCordova and Casey Mabry.